Hey everybody. Hey, how are ya? Happy Tuesday. What you doing out there? What's going on with y'all? Are you having a good week so far? Y'all, we made it through Monday, and I'm always saying like that's a win. That's a win. At least it's a win for me. I hope it's a win for y'all. How are you, everybody? Hi, Ruby. Hi, Mary. Oh my gosh, Colleen is here. Hi. Y'all, Facebook's early today. Hey, Wanda. Facebook connected really quickly. It usually takes Facebook like a few minutes. That's impressive. Way to go, Facebook. Oh my gosh, what's going on, everybody? Hi, Holly. Hi, Anita. Oh my gosh. Okay, so things to say today. What shall I say to Danielle's here? Hi, Danielle. Salutations back at you, Kim. How official are we? Oh my goodness. So, you guys, I'm just gonna warn you, okay? Everybody go do the happy dances and say some prayers and do all the things, all the happy juju, send it my way. Because I'm starting to feel like I'm coming down with something. And y'all, I mean, I look at it two different ways. Like on one hand, like I would rather have a cold now before Christmas, but at the same time, like at least if it happens during Christmas, then I'm not missing anything. Like because I'm taking a break. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're on if you've got like vacation time or whatever, if you've got time off, then it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to have a cold, it'll be now because I don't have anything pressing. But like, y'all, we got a lot to do between now and Christmas, and I don't have time to not feel good. So send me all right, because ain't nobody got time for that. I don't have time for that. I'm gonna need you to send me all the healing vibes because I'm starting to feel it in the back of my sinuses, and I don't want it. My kids got it. I don't want it. The good news is it's just a cold. The bad news is that it's a cold. Like, what? Who has time for that? Okay, so yes, emergency and airborne and zinc. Ugh. All right, so let's talk. Let's chat a minute. First things first, and I'll say this again during our Hardwired class later today too. But those of you who are part of Hardwired, these are your last couple of days to make sure that you are getting your invoices taken care of. Reminders went out today, so if you still have your invoice, you might want to take care of that. I'm just saying, because we don't want to lose anybody. That's the only reason I bring it up. I mean, because like you got to pay to play, and we want you to continue to play. So, ew, a neti pot. I used to have one of those. Me and my daughter were talking about that the other day. Ew, it works, but ew. Oh my goodness. Okay, so as far as today's project is concerned, just a little insider information here. I wasn't really sure what to do today. Because recently I've had something to do like every Tuesday. It's either the bargain bead box or it's Sam's bead box or it's me and Sam. And and so my Tuesdays tend to be kind of planned out for me. And when I have like a rogue Tuesday, I don't really know what to do with myself. I'm like, okay, well, the world is my oyster. I have no idea what to make. So I went to my team and I was like, what should we do for our project for Tuesday? And Colleen everybody kind of had this suggestion, but Colleen had a really good reason for it, to be using the tying station. So first of all, we haven't used the tying station in a while. It's one of my favorite Beadalon products. It's so handy. And the fact that we haven't used it in a while was a great like jumping off point. But then Colleen took it a step further and suggested that we do something kind of that could be used as a man's bracelet, because we don't do a lot of men's jewelry. Men's jewelry is hard in the sense that it's easy. Like, does that make any sense whatsoever? It's hard to teach a class on men's jewelry. It's like hard to do a whole live on men's jewelry when the designs are pretty straightforward. So I don't want to make anybody bored, right? So I thought, well, what if we do a project where we do some knots, because I love knotting. I love the tying station. And we make a unisex bracelet, and we do it in a way that is easy to follow. Of course, that's always my goal. But that you can use a multitude of materials for. And so that's kind of where this all went. So thanks to my team, thanks to Colleen, Kathy, and Nicole for helping me come up with an idea for you guys. I know that men's jewelry can be a challenge. And so coming up with designs for them is really hard. And if you can make it so that it can be an either or kind of piece of jewelry, then you can kind of check a whole lot of people off your gift list. And I love that personally. I'm a fan. So we're going to be using the tying station. I'm using some ceramic beads that I actually got from Danielle. And they have a little bit of a larger hole. However, if you don't have any beads that have a large hole, that's okay. And the reason that that's okay is because you're going to be able to use so many different stringing materials for this, that it's not going to make any difference. You may not be able to use the cord that I'm going to use if it won't fit through your bead holes, but you can use something else. So I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions. So for the project today, I'm going to be using some of the Beadalon repeat cord. This is made of 100% recycled bottles, which makes it green. And I love that. It comes in a ton of different colors and a few different sizes. I'm using the 0.1 millimeter. It's nice and small. It's going to go through my ceramic beads. However, you can adjust the size of this. You can pick a bazillion different colors of this if you want. It comes in greens and magentas and blues and just really beautiful. I just put gray because I'm boring. However, that doesn't have to be the only thing that you use. What happened to my materials? Look, where is everything? So I actually did a sample of this. I'm going to show it to you in hemp. This is a hemp card from Beadalon. I cut the top of this off because I had used it for something else. But hemp will work as well. And the hemp you can get from Beadalon in a couple of different colors. This is the multicolor pack. And then you can get the pack like this that I've used everything except the big one. But it comes in a bunch of different sizes. You can use nylon cord. You could use B-lon. You can use S-lon. You can use anything that you want, because if it will hold a knot, that's all it takes. And so for that reason, that makes this a really cool one. Just because I'm using this nylon feeling repeat cord doesn't mean that's what you have to use. All right, so I'm going to turn you around and we're going to get started, okay? All righty. Okay, so for those of you, let's just do a quick rundown of the tying station real quick. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with the tying station, this makes a great gift for yourself if you don't have one, or if you've got a beady person in your life who needs another tool, and we all need more tools, right? This is a fun one, and this one you can grab. I've seen this one. I don't know if they still have it at Michael's, but they used to for a while. You can grab it, I believe, at Hobby Lobby. There's a lot of different places you can pick this up. The Beadalon website being the #1 place where you can grab it, but you can also get it on like Amazon. But it is acrylic. It's got a ruler on the edge here, and it has two sides to it. It has a top and a bottom with a washer and a wing nut and a peg. And you take the acrylic plates off. You can attach your stringing materials to it. It allows you to have your hands free. Think of this as like the updated, grown-up version of the safety pin to your sock, or using a clipboard to do your macrame projects. But the cool thing about this is that it's not just for macrame. You can use this for literally any kind of project where you need to have your hands free and you want your work attached. The inside of it is open, so you can get your fingers underneath everything, which makes it nice as well. So if you don't have a tying station and you're looking for something to tell somebody that you want for Christmas, this might be a good one. I'm just saying, because it's one of my favorites, and I have a bunch of tying stations in my life. All right, so that and the repeat cord, like I said, you don't have to use the repeat cord, but that's what I'm using. This is made by Beadalon. It is 1 millimeter, and then the beads that I'm using here are ceramic, and they do have a little bit of a larger hole. That's going to accommodate my repeat cord that's going to go through the beads more than once. So when you're picking things for your project, that's what you're going to want to do. You want to be sure that your stringing material and the bead hole are going to be compatible with each other, right? So if you're going to use something as thick as 1 millimeter, you're going to need a bead with a bigger hole. If not, you're going to need to use a smaller stringing material, okay? And you've got a ton of choices. Like I said, you've got hemp, you've got B-lon, S-lon, bead stringing wire in like 49 strand will work. You've got a lot of options, okay? Wanda says, don't toss the foam block that comes with the tying station. Yeah, don't. I have like 6 tying stations and probably 1 foam block because I'm not because I threw them away, but just because I lost them. Yeah, don't do that because you need it. It's for projects that are longer than your tying station. So you can put the foam block down on top of the work and tighten it down, and it doesn't scratch everything. It doesn't scratch your work up, right? That's what that's for. Okay, so we're going to get started. I've got 2 pieces of the repeat cord. You can do 4 pieces, and instead of folding them in half, it's completely up to you. But what I've got here is I've got 1 piece that is about 24 inches long, and I'm going to fold it in half. Okay. And then I've got another piece that's about 6 feet long, and I'm also going to fold that in half. And the smaller, the smaller measurement, that's going to be the core. The longer measurement, that's going to be our knotting cord. Okay. So fold those in half. And then you want to tie an overhand. Wait, you don't want to tie an overhanded knot. That's not what we're doing. Sorry. If you want to use a button or something, you can do an overhanded knot so that you have a loop. We're not going to do that. We're going to do an adjustable clasp at the end of this. So basically you want to give yourself, let's see, you want to give yourself about 4 or 5 inches of this. And then tie your overhanded knot. Now, I know that seems a little weird because you've just made a huge loop, but it's because we're actually going to cut these loops open and use these strands at the end. So just take my word for it. If you don't believe me where I'm going with this, you're just going to have to just follow along. I'm going to do a macrame clasp that's adjustable, right? Okay, so now what I have is this loop. Don't attach that to your peg. That's not going to work because that's going to start your work way down here. What we want is we just want to sit this next to the peg so that our knot is right up here at the edge. We're going to go ahead and put that acrylic plate down, and we're going to tighten our wing nut over this. And it's going to be just as good as if we had looped over the peg, right? We just want this to be tight. We want our knot right up here. Okay. Kim says, listen to Sensei. I'll take that. All right. So now what we want is we want to separate out our strands. Our 2 really long strands, remember, from our like 6-foot section, 7-foot section, whatever you're going to need. If you're going to need to make a big bracelet, you're going to need a really, really long piece. 8 feet's probably going to accommodate every size imaginable. Okay, you want those 2 strands to be coming out this direction because these are going to be the ones you knot with. Your shorter strands are here in the middle. This is going to be our core. And the core is actually going to involve our beads. But we're not going to secure this down here at the bottom of our tying station. So some of our projects, we secure the bottom to the bottom of the tying station. This one is one where we need to kind of keep it loose. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of our beads. We're going to take our 2 short strands, and we're going to thread our cord through that bead going in opposite directions. And you know what? I've got a sample I can show you if you're curious as to what it is that we're about to do. Give me just a second. I will handle that for you. All right. So we're going to pull, and that's going to bring our bead up here to the top. And we've got our core strand. We've got our knotting strand. We're going to do knots on both sides. So take a look at this. I did this one. This was just my sample as I was playing around. This is with hemp. And the spacing, I wasn't using very even tension, and I wasn't really paying attention to how many knots I was doing. So it's not really evenly spaced, but this is kind of what the bracelet is going to look like. Okay. Now imagine this with like tiger eye and brown cord, or if you wanted to make it more feminine, you could do pearls and like a 49 strand gold colored bead stringing wire. Like you could really make this very, very feminine and sparkly, or you could make this like definitely boho or kind of, you know, rough around the edges. You could use leather with this if you wanted to. So you got to use your imagination, but this is a cool little project, and that's where we're going with it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're actually going to do some knots. We're doing half hitch knots. We've done these knots before here, and we've called them tushy knots. And that is still, we're still doing tushy knots. So if you've done the tushy knot with us before, then you're going to remember this. But otherwise, this is basically just a half hitch going over and then under our core cord, and it's going to create a lark's head knot. You're going to see. Okay, so the shorter the shorter strand here, we're going to start on the right. The shorter strand, the one we're going to knot onto, our longer strand here. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a 4, or what looks like a 4. It's like a P shape, okay, or a loop. It's like a P. By taking our cord, the long cord, and putting it over the top of the shorter cord. Okay, so now it's going this way. What we're going to do is we're going to take that long cord and we're going to go behind that short cord and up through that P shape that we made, and we're going to pull. Okay, that's step 1. Step 2 is the same thing. We're making another P shape, but this time the cord goes underneath the short cord, and then we go down through that that loop that we just made, and pull. That's our little tushy knot. Now these first 2 knots are just to get us secure. Okay, so I'm not going to continue and repeat just yet because I need to secure our bead over here on the other side. So I'm going to do the same thing over here on the left. Okay, except we're doing it backwards here. So I've got my short cord here. I'm going to take my longer cord. I'm making a backwards P shape. It's going over the top of that cord. We're going behind and up through. And we're going to pull. You just pull it right up to the bead. Okay. Now we're going to repeat, but this time we're going behind. So we're making that P shape underneath and then down through the P shape and then pull. Okay. Now these knots are a little loose at the moment. That's okay because we're just getting started. Here in the beginning, everything is going to be a little loose until we get about 1 section of this done, okay, on either side. So you may find that you have to pull on this a little bit as you're going in the beginning. Okay, now we're going to just focus on the right side for a little bit. Okay, so we're going to do another one. So always use your short cord as the cord to knot over the top of. Okay, use your long cord. We're making that P shape across the top, taking the length behind and up through and pull. Okay, the second step to that knot is the same thing. We go underneath the core, and then this time we go down through that P shape and pull. Okay, we're going to do another. So the P shape again, going across the top of the core, behind and up through. And this one goes behind the core, whoops, and then down through. And I reach up through and pull down. It's up to you how you want to do it, as far as like what's more comfortable as far as your hands are concerned. But I like to pull from the bottom down. That's just me. All right, so we've made 3 knots here. We're going to do 2 more. So using that core, we're making our 4 or our P. Take the cord behind and up through and pull. Then we go behind that cord and then, whoops, we go down through and pull. Okay. That makes 4. And I'm going to show you, we're going to do 1 more, and then I'm going to show you how to count these, and I'm going to show you why we call them tushy knots. All right. So there's our P shape. We're going behind and up through. We're going behind and then down through. Okay. All right, now let's take a look at our knots here. So they are little lark's head knots, but I call them little tushy knots because it's easier to remember them that way because they look like a little tushy. And it's the belt that you count. Here's a belt and here's a little tushy, or little legs, right? There's a belt and there's two little legs. There's a belt and two little legs, a belt and two little legs, a belt and two little legs, or a belt and a little booty. Okay, don't get offended. I'm not, whatever helps you to imagine that this bump right here is how you're going to count your knot. And if you don't have a little tushy shape or two little legs with the belt holding the pants up, then Nicole says, plus saying tushy makes Sarah Google. I know, right? But if you don't have a belt and two legs, then you haven't completed the knot. It's a great way to count the knot, but it's also a great way to know that you have finished the knot. The knot, like a lot of knots in macrame, happens in 2 steps. If you don't do both steps, you're not going to end up with a full knot, which means you're not going to end up with a belt and 2 legs. Okay. You're going to end up with something else. So if you have anything other than what looks like a belt holding up some pants, then you've not done both sides of the knot. That also being said is a great way to keep up with. If you get up from your work mid knot, let's say you've just done the over the top part, then when you come back to your work, you can tell, okay, I haven't completed the belt. So I know that I've done the first step, but now I need to do the second step to finish. That's how you're going to keep up with your work. Making it a little tushy with some, a little tushy with the belt holding up the pants just makes it easier for me to remember it because I'm silly and I'm very cheesy and that works for me. If it doesn't work for you, come up with something else. But I mean, it even looks like a little mushroom with like 2 stalks. I mean, I don't know. Come up with whatever you want to. It is a lark's head knot, however, and we're doing a lark's head knot over a cord with a single cord. If more technical helps you, then that works too. Okay. But the most important part of this is we're going to do 5 knots on each side. So we're going to do 5 knots on the right. Now we're going to do 5 knots on the left. And you have to remember that those 5 knots on the left are backwards from what we just did. And I need to readjust here as my knots have come loose. Now remember this one, I'm going to undo this all together here. This first set, if your bead is sitting in a weird position, that's okay, because you can undo this knot at the end and reposition your bead. The next beads that we add, they should be just fine. Okay. All right. Now let's do this again. So remember, over and under is still what we're doing, but this, because we're doing it on the left, we're doing a backwards P shape instead of a P shape. Okay. But it's exactly the same steps. So our core cord is the short one. We're taking the long one. We're making that backwards P shape, okay, over the top of the core. And then we're going behind that core and up through and pull. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going underneath. So behind, okay. And then it goes down through. We've got P's and Q's and 4s and 9s, whatever works for y'all. Okay. All right. So there's 1. We did 5 on this side, so we need to do 4 more. Okay. So P shape, or I'm sorry, our backwards P shape, behind and up through and pull. And I just realized that my cord for my inner bracelet is, we're going to make a really short bracelet. Okay. So I just realized something, and we'll talk about it here in just a second. Let's keep going first. Okay. Let's do all of our knots. Behind and up through. It's actually going to be okay because we'll be here forever otherwise. So it works out, but you're going to need to adjust your own measurements a little bit. Because I just realized something. All right. So again, we're counting our knots. We've got, how come that one, this one's a little, this one did funny. Let's undo. Doing them backwards, I always have a tendency to mess them up more than once. So if that's you, just know you're not the only one. When I start doing them backwards, and it's not that I'm doing it backwards, it's just a backwards P shape. Sometimes I mix up the over and under. So over the top, behind and up through, and pull. Okay. This one goes behind the core and then down through and pull. Okay. Then same thing over the top. Okay. Behind and up through, pull. This one goes behind the core. Oops. And then down, through, and pull. There's 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to do 2 more. Okay. This one goes across the top, behind, and up through. This one goes behind the core and down through and pull. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 1 more to make. Okay, so we're making our backwards P with the going across the top, behind and up through. So we're going behind, and we're going to take it and go down through. Okay, so now we've done 5 on either side. Okay, we've got 5 little belts and 5 little sets of legs. Okay, now listen. As I was doing this, I just realized that the measurement for the inner core cords that I told you was not, it's not enough. So I'm glad I didn't make an official materials list. It's not enough. And it would be enough if we were attaching a button, which is what I initially tried to do here. If you'll remember when I was making my loop at the beginning, and I had told myself, okay, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do a sliding clasp, and I don't have enough of this cord. So your interior cord, the one that I told you was about 24 inches, and you're going to fold it in half. You need to make that probably about 36 inches and fold it in half. You still want plenty, 6 to 8 feet on your knotting cord, folded in half, right? But this inner cord here, if you're going to do an adjustable clasp, you're going to need a little bit more. And the reason I say that is because remember, we've left ourselves about 5 inches of cord up here. I don't have enough to do 5 inches of cord down here because we've just come to the end of the tying station, right? In order for us to make this one work, we're probably going to have to stop our bracelet at about 6 inches. And that's fine because it's going to save us time. But just know that yours, you need your core cords to be a little bit longer. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to. I still had doing this with a button clasp on the brain where you don't need all that extra. Okay. So my apologies. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a bead to this, right? We're ready to add a bead. So we're going to bring a bead in, and we're going to use our 2 core cords here. And we're going to run 1 through the bead. Okay. Then we're going to take the other core cord, and we're going to go through the bead going in the opposite direction, which is a little tricky with the repeat cord because it has a tendency to fray. You can treat this the same way you treat all the other things like hemp, and you can add clear nail polish to it. You can add glue to it. You can add a little spit to it. You can melt the ends with a lighter to keep it from fraying. Okay, but the cords are going both cords are going through this in opposite directions. Okay, and then you're going to pull. And look what that does. That pulls our little knotted sections together, right? And puts our little bead right in the center. Okay. to secure this, before we move forward, we're going to do 1 knot on each side, and then we're going to finish with 4 more knots on each side. Okay. Yeah, I should have melted the ends. Okay. So we're going to take our short cord and our long cord, and again, P shape across the top, take the cord behind and up through and pull. And you do kind of have to, until you get everything secure, you kind of have to wiggle your bead around a little bit, hold everything in place. Okay. Then we go behind the core and we go down through that P shape and pull. Okay. Now just to secure it on the other side, I'm going to go ahead and do my first knot over here on the left. So same steps, goes across the top. Okay, pull, and then behind the core and down through and pull. Now that'll probably come loose a little bit as we're working, but that's okay. For the most part, I'm just trying to kind of set everything. Ooh, I love that idea. Colleen says if you use festive colored materials, it could also be a holiday wreath. That's awesome. You could do like red beads and green cord. That would be awesome. All right. So another 4 knots on this side. Okay. So on the right, we're making that P shape. Okay. Across the core, we go behind the core and up through and pull. And then we go behind the core and then down through and pull. You definitely can use bead stringing wire with this, but I recommend 49 strand. It's the one that keeps the best knots. Anything smaller than or anything lower than the 49 strand, like the 7 strand and the 19 strand, you can knot it, but the knots don't tend to stay. 49 strand will stay 100%. Okay, so we've got 2. Let's do 3 more. So there's our P shape. Taking that behind the core up through our P shape. I'm going to pull. And then behind. And then down through. And pull. So there's 3. This one goes across the top. Behind and up through. Behind and then down through and pull. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. We need 1 more. Okay, so there's our P shape over the top, down through, pull. This one goes behind and then down through and pull. Okay, now we're going to move over here to the other side. We've already done 1, right? So now I need to do 4 more, and these are the backwards ones. So goes over the top, behind and up through. The steps are exactly the same. It's just a backwards P, but it's exactly the same steps. So underneath the core and then down through, pull. This one is across the top, whoops, and up through. Kim says she wants to make one for herself with leather. Yes. So listen, the a 1mm leather would work beautifully with these beads because they have a nice big hole. If you don't have a hole that's as big as this, a 0.5 leather cord would be amazing. And the knots are going to be, they're still going to be about this size, but because it's leather, it's a little bit more substantial. It would be awesome. I wish I had enough leather cord to do one for myself, but I don't at the moment. I have leather for kits, but not leather for myself. That's the story of my life, you guys. I have materials for kits, but not materials for my own designs. Okay. there's 4. We're going to do one more. So what is this? Leather. Mm-hmm. Can you use 2 different tying materials? Yeah, I think you could. I really think you could. In fact, I bet, now I don't know how your closure would be a little bit different. You're not going to be able to do a sliding clasp. However, if you wanted to do beads that had like just a regular size hole, you could use bead stringing wire as your core cords and then use your knotting cord as literally anything, because the knotting cord doesn't go through the bead, right? You can knot on top of your bead stringing wire. So you can use 7-strand, 19-strand, 49-strand, whatever you wanted to as your core, right? And then you could finish your ends with like a crimp. I don't know what you would do with the cord that you knotted with, but I mean, you could do dangles with it. You know, you could tie off and have like little dangles with beads hanging from them. You have so many different options. So yeah, absolutely. Sabrina says, what about suede? I think so. I think so. I don't think there's anything you couldn't use with this. Especially as creative as you all are. You all would find a way to make just about anything work. All right, so we've got our 5 knots on either side. Now we're going to take our core cords again, and we're going to grab another bead. Okay, and we're going to run our cord through that bead, going in opposite directions. So one's going one way, and we're going to go the other way. Alyssa is hiding in the cupboard at work so that she can be more. That's commitment right there. That is commitment. And my cord is all frayed and it's doing us silly and it doesn't want to go through here. I can use my beading awl just to stuff it in there. Go through there, buddy. Or I could just use a little DNA, okay? You know what? No. I got a better idea. We'll use flame. We shouldn't, because remember what happened? Were y'all at my Michael's class where I burned my cord and yeah, that was embarrassing. It was right at the end of the project. So see how I just melted the end of that? That's going to keep it from fraying. And I should have grabbed this earlier and completely forgot about it, but that's just going to keep it from fraying and make it a little bit easier to go through. There we go. Okay. All right. So now when we pull, we're just going to set our bead right down in its spot. Now you can see how this top one is a little off center. You can always undo this knot at the end and kind of reset it. The rest of them are going to set really nicely. It's just that first one, because it's all loose up there, you can fix it. Okay. So don't worry that this one is like, whoa, that one looks a little goofy. Okay. So now again, we're going to do a knot on either side to set this. Beefy fireman? I don't know. I think my refrigerator shaped gentleman in the other room would probably be a little upset about that, but no, I'm not, don't let me stop you. If you need to set something on fire. Okay. P shape over the core cord and then up through. Okay. And then I'm just kind of holding everything in place. You can see how I've got these cords tucked in between my fingers on my left hand. This one's going behind and then down through, and I'm really just kind of having to maneuver everything a little until I get it all set. Okay. All right. I'm going to come to the other side. Okay. So this one, exactly the same. It's just a backwards P shape over the top, down, behind, and then up through. Okay, this one goes behind the core and then down through, and pull. Okay. All right, let's go back and focus on the right side. Okay, so we've already done one knot. We're going to do 4 more. Okay, so across that core, behind, and up through. This one goes behind the core and then down through. Okay, across the core, or over the top of the core, behind and up through that P shape, pull, and then behind the core and down through and pull. So there's 3. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. This one is over the top, behind, pull. This one goes behind the core and then down through and pull. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Counting the little belts. Okay, that P shape over the top, behind, up through, and pull. Thank you, Ruth. So go behind the core and then down through, and I reach up through. You can see, I hope that's not confusing. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the knots on this side. We're going to go and do 4 on this side because we've already got 1 ready. Okay, so same steps. Just a backwards little loop, but still over the top of the core, and it still goes behind and up through that backwards P shape, pull. This one goes behind the core, and the cord goes down through. This is very similar to a square knot, yes. So these are they're little lark's head knots that are made with a half hitch motion. But just like a square knot, it happens in 2 steps. Does the paracord come in different thicknesses? So this one's not paracord. This is the repeat cord, and yeah, it does. It comes in a couple of different millimeters. This one's the 1 millimeter. You can get it in the 1.5, and I think you can get it in 2 millimeter. I can't remember if it comes in any other sizes or not, because I like to keep mine at the 1 millimeter just because I feel like it accommodates. I can fit it through the most beads, you know. But I do know that you can get it in a bunch of different sizes and a bunch of different colors. And this is very similar to paracord. This is just made out of recycled bottles. And this is a Beat-A-Lon product. Okay. Hi, Tina. We're happy to have you here. I don't know what else I was trying to say, but we're glad you're here. This one goes behind the core and then down through. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we need 2 more. So this one goes across that top core and then behind and up through the loop, pull. This one goes behind the cord and it goes down through. Erling, thank you so much. You are awesome. It's very much appreciated. Thank you for letting me be part of your beady day. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 1 more to do. Okay, so then your P shape again. Oops, behind, up through, pull. And then this one goes behind the core, goes behind it, and then down through and pull. So we've got 5 on either side. Right? Or do we have 6? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, I knew it. I had one extra on this side, so I'm going to take that one I just did out. All right, so I've got 5 knots on either side. We're going to take this center cords here, the short ones. We're going to bring in another bead. Okay, take your cord through that bead, and then take the other cord and go through the same bead in the opposite direction. Still a little. There we go. Pull. And it's going to pull that bead right down into its spot. Okay. All right, let's do one more set, and then we'll see where we're at with time, because I want to show you how to do an adjustable knot on this, even though we don't have a full bracelet. Okay. Okay, so just to set this, right, we need to do that single knot on both sides, and then we'll focus on all the rest of the knots. So we're over here on the right. Thank you, Pauline. We're going to do our P shape over the core, behind and up through. Okay, and then behind for that P shape, and then down through and pull. Okay, do the same thing over here on the left, just to set our bead so it doesn't wiggle around on us too much. Okay, so over the top for that shape, behind and up through. So many choices to make, says Sabrina. I know, so many material choices, because you can use literally anything, any beads, anything to make your knots with. Okay, so we have our beads set. So now we can focus on our 4 more knots on this side, and then we'll do 4 more on the other side. Then I'll show you how to finish this off, because I know we won't have a full bracelet, but that's okay. The most important parts you'll have seen. I did see somebody said something about making these into earrings. They would look amazing as earrings. I'm just saying. They really would look cool. Okay, so we're going to finish this side over here with 4 more. Okay, so there's 2 so far. There's 3. You just always have to remember that the knot happens in 2 steps. If you don't do both steps, you're not going to have the full knot, right? There's 3. There's 4. Do 1 more. Okay. So there's 5 on that side. Let's finish off the other side. Okay. Yeah, what Wanda said. What Wanda said. It's too bad our YouTube people can't see what Wanda said. They're all like, what did Wanda say? There's 2. Oops, I'm getting my cords all mixed up here. Oh, Kathy says she loves this bracelet so much she's going to make one for everybody in her family. I love that. I love that. And you know why I love that more than anything? Is because this works for men and women. And can be a struggle. I'm just saying. men's jewelry can be hard. And this is one of those cool designs that like I said before, you could use pearls as your beads and you can make this really, fancy if you wanted to, or you can make it really boho, and like you can give this bracelet so many different moods just by mixing up the materials, and you could make one for anybody's personality. And I get really excited about jewelry that's like that, because it's like you can do something simple, but it appeals to so many different people that just, especially around this time of year when you might be at a loss as to what to do and what to make. All right, so we've got 5 on either side here, okay? And we're gonna add another bead to this, and then I'm gonna show you how to finish this off. Yes, we have a teeny beanie bracelet, but that's okay. The most important part is that you saw how to make all the knots and how to add the beads. You got all the steps here. Oh, look, Wanda's made her way over to YouTube too. Double trouble. Y'all better watch out over there. Wanda's made her way over to YouTube too. Okay, so since we're going to finish off, we want to kind of finish off the same way that we started. So we just want to tie an overhanded knot. So you're going to pull your bead down, and then you're going to take all of your cords and bundle them together, and you're going to do an overhanded knot. Okay, now that might be a little tricky if you don't have enough cord here, which I messed up and didn't make my measurements correct, but we're going to do the best that we can. Okay, so what you want is you want to pull that knot down as close to your beads as possible. Now, if you're going to use a different kind of closure, you're not going to need to do it like this. Okay, you still probably want to tie a knot, but then you can add your button, you can, whatever it is that you were going to do down here to finish off your bracelet. But for mine, I needed plenty of leftover, like at least 4 to 5 inches to do the adjustable clasp. That's why we're having to stop where we're at. Okay. All right. I'm going to take this off of the tying station. World's tiniest bracelet right here. Oh my. You know what though? It gives me ideas for other things, because like, what if instead of doing a bracelet, you did like a purse charm? You could add more beads down here. You could add like dangles to each one of these and then tie them off with knots, and then a little hook up here. It could be a purse charm. It could be a keychain. Like, you don't have to make a bracelet out of this, right? You could very easily turn this into a really cool keychain. I don't know. Just saying. Or a pendant to a full-on necklace. This could hang right from the center of something else. So just saying. Sabrina loves purse charms. I do too. I'm an advocate for the purse charm. Okay, so up here, remember where we had tied a loop? We're going to use our scissors and cut that, because we don't need that to be a loop. We need it to be 4 separate strands. Now, if you want to readjust your knot here because your bead is out of shape, you can do that. Just be careful. I'm going to undo mine and then retie it, just so that my bead is sitting a little prettier. Or maybe I won't. Trying very carefully to use my beading awl and not hurt myself to undo this. Yes, it can be done. Just don't. I'm like super accident prone these days, so I try not to push it too much with myself. Just because you live close to the emergency room doesn't mean you should go there. Oh my. But yet here at this table, I have flame and I have my beading awl with the pokey end. This might be a losing battle here, because I don't want to undo it completely. I just want to loosen it up enough so that I can kind of wiggle my bead. Right. Here we go. Okay, so now I can Try to get that set back nice and pretty here, if possible. Just because my bead was sitting kind of funny. So that's better, right? Okay. All right. So for an adjustable clasp, especially cool if you're going to be giving these away as gifts. Pretending, of course, that we made a full-size bracelet, even though we didn't. But this is a really good trick for if you don't know what size to make for the people you're making bracelets for. Make the clasp adjustable, and then it doesn't matter, okay? So what you would do is you would take some more of your cord, whatever you're using for your knots, okay? I'm just going to use some of my leftovers here, okay? And you're going to take all of these strands on the top and all the strands on the bottom. And you're going to lay those running in opposite directions next to each other, just like that. Okay. And yeah, that's a lot right now. I realize that's a lot of cords. But we're going to do some square knots with another piece of the repeat cord, and that's going to make this all adjustable. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a piece of the repeat cord and you're going to go underneath all of those cords. And we're going to do a square knot, which is different than what we've been doing, but not by a whole lot. Still in the same family. Okay. We're going to take our right-handed cord and we're making that same P shape, just like we were doing over all of those cords. Okay. But now we're going to take our left-handed cord. It's going to cross over that cord that we just pulled out this direction. And then it's going to go behind all of the core cords, just like our tushy knots, and up through that P shape on the other side. Now, the first one is always the trickiest because you got to hold everything together, right? And pull. That's going to bundle all of these cords together. Okay. Now, square knot, just like our little tushy knots, happens in 2 steps. So what we did on the right, we got to do on the left. Okay. So left-handed cord goes across the top, making that P shape. The right-handed cord goes across that one, behind the back of all the core, and then up through that backwards P shape on the left-handed side, and pull. That's going to give you your square knot. Square knot happens in 2 steps, okay? And you want to pull it tight, but you don't want to pull it so tight that you can't wiggle these cords, because you're going to have to be able to slide this open and closed, okay? And I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. Okay, so you're going to continue this. You probably want to do at least 5 square knots, okay? But then you can do more if you want to. But 5 is really going to give you the most security for everything. So P shape on the right, okay? Left-handed cord, cross that, back behind all the core, and then up through on the right-handed side, and pull. Okay, we're going to repeat that on the left. So backwards P shape, right-handed cord goes across that, behind, and up through that backwards P shape on the other side, and pull. Okay, you can see how we're just knotting over these cords. It's keeping them all contained, right? And we don't have to have any kind of hardware here. Okay, so I'm going to do P shape on the right, left cord goes across that, back behind, and up through, and pull. Okay, left-handed cord is across for our backwards P shape, behind, and up through. Wanda says, my knots are so neat. I have knot envy. Don't have knot envy. You know how many knots I've tied in my lifetime? You have to remember, macrame is where I started making jewelry. So like this, I could do this like wrapped loops, probably with a blindfold on, with my hands behind my back, standing on my head. I don't know. We should probably try that. But again, I'm a little accident prone, so maybe not. Sounds pretty good, but I don't think in practice it would turn out very well. I think I would end up injured. We'd still have knots, and they'd still be pretty, but you know. All right, so this is my last one. Now, Again, you probably need to do about 5. I've only done 4 here. That's fine because we're just doing this for, you know, instructional purposes only. But you're going to do a row of those, as many as you want. If you want to, if you need an extra long bracelet, do an extra long section of your square knots at the back if you can, right? The point of all of this is, right, you've got 4 strands on, hold on, you've got 4 strands over here, and you've got 4 strands over here. Those are the strands, the ends of your bracelet, right? So when you pull, you're going to tighten down your knots, or you're tightening down the size of your bracelet. Oops, I'm not doing a very good job of any of that at the moment here. There we go. Just try to even up my cords so that it looks a little neater. Okay. Now the key to this though is you got to get rid of these 2 cords that we were using to knot. So I like to do this just as easy as possible. I'm going to come to the back. Okay. And you can tie an overhanded knot with your knotting cords that's going to sit at the back of your square knots. Okay. And if you're using nylon cord, repeat cord, whatever you got, you can singe off the ends. If not, you can use some glue. I'm going to singe off the ends. This is where bad things happen. But that's what we're going to do here. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of melt. And then I just push it down with my finger. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the other one. Okay, that goes on the back. Okay, I've melted cord on my fingers now. Now, here's the main issue with this is that you've got to make sure that your cords don't slip through. Okay, this is all well and good until you open your bracelet up so big that you lose your cord ends in this. Way to keep that from happening is to tie a knot at the end of each one of these. That's going to keep it from sliding through this first little square knot, right? It's going to keep it. So you can't open this up all the way and lose your cords. Another thing you can do is if you want to add beads, you can add beads to the end and then tie a knot, and that just makes little dangles. But with this method, you're going to have 4 strands of dangles, whether they're knots or with beads, regardless, right? You're going to have this kind of fringe at the back of your bracelet. Some people like that. Some people don't like it. If you don't like it, then I definitely suggest using some hardware instead. You can use cord ends for this. You can tie off and do knots. You can do a button clasp and a loop. If you're going to use some bead stringing wire, just use your regular things. Use your, you know, a crimp and a wire guardian and some jump rings. You've got a lot of options. This is just a really good one for if you need to make an adjustable bracelet because you don't know what size. That works for so many, you know, presents and gifts, or for a booth, because you don't have to worry that every single one of your bracelets ended up being 7.5 inches, but the person who comes to your booth needs a 9-inch bracelet. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a really convenient way. Plus the fact that I have found, just from my experience, and I'm not saying my experience is typical, but the men that are in my life, they don't like, if you're making this for men, they don't like to mess with a clasp. If they have to, and we've talked about this before, if it's not a magnetic clasp, the alternative is an adjustable clasp, because if they have to open and close like a split ring, a spring ring or a lobster clasp, 9 times out of 10, they won't even go to the trouble of doing it. And that piece of jewelry will just sit on the dresser. Now, I'm not saying that's true with every man. I'm just saying that the ones in my life, right, that's the way they feel about clasps. Women tend to be a little bit different about it. But now if you have dexterity issues, this is another great alternative too, you know? So there you go. All right, there's our bracelet design. And again, so many options because you can change up your beads, you can change up your stringing material and your knotting material. So the cord could be anything. It could be bead string and wire. So you could use beads that have a regular size hole, but then you can use the knotting cord in literally anything. So many options, you guys. So many options. And don't forget about our tying station. I'm going to turn you guys around. Don't forget about the tying station. So if you're looking for a last minute gift for yourself, you need to ask, you know, somebody's asked you what you want. Tying station, if you don't have one. I've got more than one and I keep them. They usually have a project on them. It's really convenient to, you know, put a project on it and then walk away from it, which convenient. Yes. Does that mean projects get finished? No, but I think we're all guilty of that. So I don't feel bad saying it out loud. Just saying. But the tying station is super awesome. So if you are looking for a new tool for yourself for Christmas or the holidays, or if you've got a beady person in your life, you don't know what to get them, tying station is a cool one. That's for sure. All right, let's take another look-see here so y'all can see. So this is the one with the repeat cord, and then I did the sample that wasn't all that beautiful, but you can see, you can get the same results with hemp. Anything you want to use, right? Super, super cool. That's a fun one. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this project. I hope that I broke those knots down for you in a way that was understandable. That is always kind of the biggest challenge with macrame, because it's really not hard. But a lot of times if you look up directions from macrame, sometimes even the step-by-step pictures are a little hard to follow because the way that they're drawn. So I always find that I do better learning macrame knotting techniques if somebody walks me through it. So I hope that I've done a good job explaining it. If I haven't, I apologize. There's always Google that can help supplement what I messed up with. But I hope that I've inspired you and hopefully given you some ideas if you need some unisex jewelry for the holidays, right? Or anytime, really. All right, my friends, thank you so much for joining me this Tuesday. I look forward to seeing you guys again on Friday for our Feel Good Friday show. Don't forget, that is Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Also, if you are a member of the Hardwired group, we will be getting together today at 5 p.m. If you're curious as to what it is that we do over in Hardwired, we've been working on wire weaves. Look at these. We've been making all kinds of wire weave, beautiful things. So yeah, Hardwired meets today at 5 p.m. If you're a Hardwired member and you haven't paid your invoice, you need to do that. Get that taken care of over the next day or two. And everybody else, I'll see you guys on Friday. Okay. Have an amazing, wonderful rest of your week. And I will see you guys soon. Okay. Bye, guys.